Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Arthur Gutsch, CEO of Opyrus, and I'm looking forward to talking to you today about the secret of wellness through writing. And we're going to cover a few things. One, I'm going to talk about the why this is a good time to embrace writing to enhance your wellness. Number two, I'm going to talk about three types of writing that are in the forefront that exemplify how writing can provide a positive impact. And number three, I'm going to talk a little bit about the neuroscience and the quote unquote secret behind writing and why we believe writing is the next big thing in the wellness industry, or can be the next big thing. So with that, let's get going and we'll get started. The first slide is actually our agenda, which we just covered. We'll go to the next slide. So the first thing I want to cover is, what is wellness? Wellness, it's about feeling good. It's about having great physical shape, mental well-being, but it's really the act of practicing healthy habits on a daily basis, to attain that physicality and those mental outcomes that you're looking for, instead of just kind of being, instead of just surviving. Wellness it's a lifetime discipline. It's something that you do like exercise, and that's how we look at it. We are not well. We have a lot of problems. One of them that's on the forefront is mental health. 1 in 5 adults today have a diagnosable mental health condition in any given year. Over the past 2 years, there was a 93% increase in the number of people looking for help with anxiety and depression. So from 2019 to 2020. Now, obviously that encapsulated the COVID trauma that we all experienced. So that's why we have some of those increased numbers. But generally over time, we're seeing more and more issues associated with mental health. Most importantly, we're seeing real challenges in our youth. And today, 10% of our young population have severe major depression. And that's a big problem. Fortunately, 20% of the US population exercises daily, on average about 30 minutes a day. Now, that's really good, and exercise is a great way to stay physically and mentally fit. And we think exercise is great. We also think there's a lot of other ways to achieve mental and physical well-being other than pharmaceuticals. And obviously, we believe that other way is through writing. Now, one of the interesting things on this chart, if you notice, if you look in there at towards the right side of the chart between 2017 and 2019, you actually see a slight degradation. And it's curious. It looks like there's been a little bit of a downtick in exercise. And my hypothesis there is that you were probably seeing a lot more people online, and this is before COVID, that we're probably seeing the impacts of, I would say, overuse of online tools and games and business in general. So not sure what that is, but generally speaking, exercise is a really good habit to get into. Now, that being said, we've had about 50,000 years of practice in communicating in a written way, starting with drawing, obviously cave drawing like this slide exemplifies, but also in the written word, early written word, whether it's cuneiform or whatever it may be. And we believe that writing will be the new exercise for wellness. That's kind of our big story with Opyrus. Writing will be the new exercise for wellness. Billions of people are writing now. It's time to use what we've learned over those 50,000 years and to begin enhancing our wellness in an orderly way. Now, we're going to talk about 3 types of writing that we believe enhance wellness. And these are just examples. There's thousands of writing types that can help you with wellness, but we'll talk about 3. So the 3 types of transformative writing that we'll talk about today are, number 1, authoring a book. Now, I use that as number 1 because we at Opyrus have a lot of experience in working with writers that have started on a journey to create their book, whether it be a biography, whether it be nonfiction, self-help, business, whatever it may be. In fact, as part of our process in understanding how things like COVID have affected people, we actually published a book called Corona Silver Linings, and it's called Corona Silver Linings. And Corona Silver Linings were stories from 70 people that utilized writing during COVID, and they sent us in their essays. It's very interesting if you get a chance to pick it up. Basically, authoring a book is a great way to go on a journey to you can use it for business, of course, but you can also use it as a way to express yourself and build confidence, beginning with the book and finishing the book. What I found in working with thousands of authors is that every time someone finishes a book and they get their first proof, it's an amazing feeling. It's a life-changing event. And it's my belief that those that have had the opportunity to start and finish a book, it's something they'll never forget, and it's literally changed the lives of obviously millions of people to date. And it's becoming more and more popular as a way to document their life or document their business, whatever it may be. So I'm a big believer in authoring and becoming an expert either in your life or in your business or whatever it is you're writing about, whether it be fiction or nonfiction. So with the book, it's the journey and that positive impact of completing the book and having that tangible item, to mark who you are. The second type of writing is something called expressive writing. It takes the form of expressive writing exercises. It can be, journaling is a form of expressive writing, obviously. And expressive writing is really interesting because, and we'll talk about this a little bit further when we talk about the neuroscience, but expressive writing essentially allows you to let go of some of those, not only negative things, but positive things and things that have been occurring in your life. The important thing about expressive writing that makes it really impactful is that you do it on a regular basis. Remember, we talked about what wellness is and understanding that you need to do it on a regular basis in order to really have it make an impact. Expressive writing needs to be done regularly, but it can be very impactful in a very positive way, particularly for those people that are dealing with traumatic situations. And we'll talk about how that's done when we talk about the kind of the secrets or the neuroscience behind it. The third one I want to talk about, which is fairly encompassing, although it seems like a fairly niche type of writing, is called goal setting or setting goals. Setting goals actually is an art, and it's also something that can have an express impact on your success. In fact, people that write down their goals have a 1.4x likelihood of succeeding over those that don't. So goal setting can be really impactful. Now, goals can mean a lot of things, right? They can have to do with your work. They can have to do with your sports event. They can have to do with your New Year's resolutions. They can have an impact on everything that you do in the future or that you want to complete in the future. So think about that. If people that write down their goals are 1.4 times more likely to succeed, what do you want to be? Do you want to be the person that doesn't write down their goals? Or do you want to be the person that writes down their goals and is more successful? And we'll talk about some of the science behind why writing down your goals makes you more successful. Let's go to that next slide where we talk about that. So how does it work? What is this mind-body connection to writing? The first thing we'll talk about is something called cognitive loading. Cognitive loading is associated predominantly with expressive writing. And what it really means is that when you are expressing predominantly negative experiences or trauma, what it does is it reduces the cognitive load. And by reducing the cognitive load, it allows individuals to better focus on the tasks at hand. That's why when people do expressive writing on a regular basis, particularly if they're dealing with a trauma or something that is bothering them, or something that's a negative experience in their life, expressive writing can be hugely impactful. Now, I'm not just saying this because I think it is. There is hundreds of pieces of research on how expressive writing helps people deal with negative experiences. So, and that's what cognitive loading is. It's basically taking that cognitive load out of your system, out of your physicality, out of yourself, out of your mind, out of your body, and making it easier for you to deal with daily life. One of the fundamentals of the secret of writing is something called encoding. Encoding is really cool in that you don't really think about it, but when you see things or you hear things or you write things, that information is perceived by your mind and it's perceived in different ways. Encoding is usually tied with the next bullet point on the slide, which is called the generation effect. What it means is when you actually generate the information that you're perceiving, that information is harder encoded or better encoded in your mind than if you were just listening to it or seeing it. When you listen to it and you see it and then you write it, writing it is far more impactful form of encoding. So we find that people that write things down, for instance, the example with goals, if you write down your goals, they tend to be more embedded in your mind and they tend to be acted on more. So the idea of encoding and the generation effect, and interestingly enough, if you use a keyboard, that works because you are generating it. But what they found through research is that if you actually write freehand, that freehand writing is actually more beneficial or more impactful from an encoding perspective and an outcome perspective than if you use the keyboard. Just an interesting piece of trivia as it relates to writing and encoding. Another secret or kind of neuroscience behind why writing has an impact on wellness is also in some ways tied to recency. So when we talk about writing on a regular basis, obviously if you're writing about things, every day versus every year, that recency effect or that what we might call frequency has a positive impact on your writing. So when we talk about writing, we in many cases talk about writing with frequency, or we talk about writing, using the keyboard so that you're generating the writing, or you're using even freehand can be very positive. So when we talk about whether it's writing a book or expressive writing or setting goals, these are 4 things. And these are just a few examples. There's a lot more going on behind the scenes when it relates to writing as far as the neuroscience and why it can help you with wellness. But these are 4 of the major things that are happening behind the scenes. That's how it works. So this is really exciting stuff. Some of it's really may seem very obvious. But when you combine it with what Opyrus is doing, for instance, with Write by Numbers, it can become very, very powerful. So what's next for Opyrus? Well, the first thing I'd like to say is that we look at writing like exercise, and we believe writing will be embraced through Opyrus as the next exercise for wellness. Opyrus is a new platform for wellness that will make it easier for people to tap into their innate talents to achieve well-being. And we believe that we're creating an application and an ecosystem and a platform that's going to allow people across the board, no matter what their interest may be or what type of writing they may want to do, it's going to help them more easily attain wellness through writing. And we're super excited about it. And that's why we're excited to talk to you about it. And as a further update, we're going to be having 2 more of these webinars. One that will talk about the Write by Number platform a little bit more and give you a little insight as to what that's going to look like. And then thirdly, we have some really big news as it relates to our growth strategy and our financing that we're going to be talking about. So I hope that we can see you at those briefings as well. We look forward to closing out our WeFunder financing. So on a final note, we appreciate all the support that we've gotten from you so far. We need your support to complete this last phase of our WeFunder financing. We're raising our last $50,000. Our lead investor will be matching that, and that will complete the $250,000 we need to complete our prototype and MVP, or minimal viable product, for Write by Numbers. So please help us if you can. If you've invested, see if you can do more. If you haven't, please consider investing in us, and we appreciate it. It's only through your support that we can get this done. Thanks a lot, and we move onward. Take care.